Alright, ladies and gents, Hippykillerz here again for another video. This is going to be the start of a new series of videos I'm doing. Basically about the Attitude Era. Of course, we all know the Attitude Era could be called the greatest era to be a wrestling fan. But I'm looking at the beginning of the Attitude Era, because there are many names that come to mind when you think of the Attitude Era. Stone Cold, DX, the NWO, The Rock, The Undertaker, many names that help establish the Attitude Era. So I'm going to find out who really started the Attitude Era. And in this first edition, I'm going to mention someone that not that many people mention when they think of the Attitude Era, and it's this man, Brian Pillman. Now, Brian Pillman, you may think is an odd choice, you may think it's an excellent choice. I think it's an excellent choice because I believe his loose cannon gimmick really set the pace for the Attitude Era. And I'll tell you why, because in '95, I believe, is when he first joined the Horsemen. And you could see he was no longer Flying Brian Pillman from the Hollywood Blonde days or from Stampede Wrestling or any other time. He was evolving into something much darker, much sinister character, which was the loose cannon. Of course, we all know, perhaps the first proper incident of loose cannon was the Bobby Heenan incident, where he went over to the commentator, started playing with them, and Bobby Heenan let out the F word. Another famous incident, WCW, that involved Brian Pillman as the loose cannon, was his match with Kevin Sullivan. I can't remember what pay-per-view it was, but it was a strap match, and Brian Pillman said, "I respect you, Booker Man." Probably one of the first major breaking kayfabe in the wrestling world, which really had never been done. Definitely not in the WWF at the time. WCW, I'm not sure, I'm not too familiar with the history of WCW, so it might have been done beforehand, but it was a pretty big moment. And then, of course, Brian got released from WCW, and he went to ECW, which helped his character even more. Like he did, attacking the fans, getting his dick out. Well, he was going to get his dick out and pee in the ring. Fighting a giant pencil, which he thought was Kevin Sullivan. He was a chef, I believe, at one point. And he spat in people's food and whatever. And, of course, he was naked on the couch once. And he cut some really amazing promos, I think, that really set the tone. Of course, in ECW, he didn't do much there. He didn't even have a match. He was going to wrestle Shane Douglas, but due to an unfortunate car accident, that never happened. So he came to the WWF in, I believe it was like the middle of '96, and the loose cannon, he was still injured at the time, so he was made a commentator, interviewer, whatever you want to call it, and it really helped him, I think. I don't want to say it in a mean way, but I reckon the car accident helped his wrestling career. If you understand. I'll explain. Because the loose cannon, he was still Flying Brian, he was still doing all the high-flying moves, and to me it didn't really suit his character. But because of the car accident, he had to change his style, and he had to use more ground-based type wrestling style. And I reckon that suited the loose cannon character more than his Flying Brian stuff. So I reckon that helped him out. And I thought he was a really good commentator. I thought he was really, innovative. And of course, he came back to wrestling, not for that long because he got re-injured again. And then we all know what happened next. Austin, kayfabe injured him. And of course, we got the famous Pillman's Got a Gun angle, which was really innovative for the F at the time. Because Stone Cold was just getting hot. Stone Cold was becoming the peak of Stone Cold. Pillman was the loose cannon. Hit those two combustible elements together. It might not have been the greatest angle of all time, I'm not saying that, but it was definitely something. And then he went on to join the Horsemen. No, the Heart Foundation, excuse me. He was already a Horseman. And so he joined the Heart Foundation, feuded with Stone Cold. He had a really good feud with Goldust, which really set the pace, in my view. The whole edgy sort of thing, breaking kayfabe yet again, calling Goldust Dustin, calling Marlena Cherry, using the whole Triple X Files, which I really enjoyed them. I thought they were really good segments. And unfortunately, before the payoff could happen, Pillman passed away in October, the day of the Bad Blood pay-per-view. So, did Pillman really help the Attitude Era get off to a flying start? I think he did. I think if it weren't for Brian Pillman, things would have been a lot different in the Attitude Era to start off with. It would have been, we would have definitely gotten to like Stone Cold, DX, Rock, NWO, all that. But I reckon it would have taken a lot longer time to reach, rather than at the time they did. And Brian Pillman is a legend, no doubt about that. Not only for his wrestling ability, but perhaps the first Attitude Era character of all time. I don't know. That's to be disputed. So, Brian Pillman, I think, helped create the Attitude Era. Put what you think down below, rate, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time for who helped the Attitude Era begin. I've got to think of a better title, but that's just off the top of my head. And remember, drink tea.